I'm Dr. Paul Jenkins, a professional psychologist. I've asked Vicki to join me again today. She is my lovely wife, and she is raising a professional psychologist. We're going to take a look today at a British documentary show called Real Stories, where they tell the story of an obese 5-year-old. We'll react to that as parenting experts, and you get to get our psychological take on what's going on in this documentary. Let's jump in at the part of this documentary where they introduce Leon, a 5-year-old who is extremely obese.
Okay.
Let's take a look.
This morning, he's seeing Leon, his mother and grandmother.
Hello. Good morning. Were you fixing Buzz on the bed?
Leon has the average weight of a 17-year-old, but he is only 5.
Say good morning, Will.
Average weight of a 17-year-old.
But he's 5.
As this kid came through the door, I remember seeing kids like this. Mm-hmm. Maybe not to this extent. I wouldn't have guessed that he's 5.
No, he looks much older.
I would guess maybe 7 or 8 based on his stature, but in terms of his weight, he's the average weight of a 17-year-old. Mm-hmm. Let's see what else they can tell us about him.
There you are, big boy. You want to fix him?
I think he's hurt his leg.
All right.
He's hurt his leg?
Yeah.
That's because of all the flying he's doing, isn't it? Yeah. You fix his leg for me then.
Why do you fix his arms?
All right, fix his arms.
Something I've noticed already, Vicki, he came in and started grabbing things. You'll notice he's got a stethoscope that he has picked up and just kind of put it on.
Right.
This isn't uncommon for a 5-year-old to do.
To just walk into a doctor's office and take over.
But it's interesting to me because what I'm putting together already is that we've got a child who is obviously overweight, obese,
right.
Morbidly obese. And he doesn't seem to appreciate that maybe there are some limits that he should be complying to in this setting.
Right, just respectful of kind of authority, new places, adults.
Right. Obviously, one of the things that comes up here is why? What's going on with this kid?
What has caused him to become so morbidly obese?
Right. Let's see how this plays out and if we can get some insight into what's going on with this kid specifically.
Okay.
Mom, come with me.
Leon's not an isolated case. Dr. Didi is seeing bigger children at a younger age.
It's maybe to do with their diet, with parents working quite often, the amount of time they spend watching television, how much time they spend outside being physically active, and the type of foods they eat.
Not too surprising. So you hear this doctor commenting about things that you would expect.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The type of food they eat, their activity level, how much contact they're having with parents, how much time
Maybe
they're spending
time
on
spent
screen.
alone and
Right.
the types of foods that they're eating as well.
We learned back in psychology school, at least when I was going through my doctoral program in psychology, we were talking about diagnosis. Mm-hmm. And you hear this from medical students too. They say when you hear hoofbeats,
Okay.
think horses, not zebras. So, and all that means is when you see a familiar constellation of symptoms, you're going to naturally go to what the most common explanations would
Right.
be for that. Mm-hmm. And that's what this doctor is doing. He's saying, look, these are the things that contribute to childhood obesity.
And that's just like calories in versus calories out. I mean, let's
Right.
go back to that. Right.
I also noticed he said that, or the documentary pointed out that he's seeing a lot more obese children, that it's
that it's
becoming
happening
more common.
that children are coming in heavier than they've ever been.
Right. Which probably indicates that this is something we need to pay some attention to.
Yes, definitely.
The documentary actually gets into some discussion about, is this genetics or is this environmental?
Right.
And I think this is important when we get to the part that we'll see here in just a minute about the mom and what's going on in the parenting end of things. It's really a combination of all of that.
Right. You know, and we want so bad as parents to kind of be off the hook that it's not any of our part.
Right.
And there's always a little bit of everything. There's a balance going on, but it's very hard sometimes to admit which part is ours and what we need to change. And I think we see that in this situation.
We'll skip over a part where Leon's mom explains that she feels this is a genetic issue. And that's not surprising. She is, as you will see, she's a very concerned, very connected mom. She wants good things for her son. And so for her to suggest that it's a genetic problem, the doctor picks that up and he says, yes, we're going to look into that.
Right.
But remember, the doctor is trained to think horses, not zebras.
Right, exactly.
For this to be caused completely by a genetic issue, very unlikely.
Right.
He's going to look into the possibilities of that. But this brings up for me, Vicki, how important it is for us as parents to feel like we're doing a good job.
Right.
And when something like this happens with our kids, we don't want it to land on us.
No. And I think one of the hard parts is there are genetic components to a lot of things, neurological biases, and then there's environment. And there's a play in all of those.
Right.
And I think one of the hardest parts for parents to take on is that often, even though we may not have caused it fully, right, because there's a genetic predisposition for something, there are things we can do that can shape it or correct it. And that makes us kind of take on, maybe this is all my fault. If I can do something to improve it, maybe I caused the whole thing. And I do think that as parents, we have to be really careful with that. You know, I run into this a lot with parents who have children who are not neurotypical.
Yeah.
And it's not that they've caused the problems, but we do want to see what part can we alter. So does this child have a genetic predisposition to overweight? Very likely he may.
Sure.
But what can we do in his environment to improve it, to change it? What have we done already to make it worse? What can we do to make it better?
Vicki, that brings up some really important points about what we can do as parents. In fact, I think in this next clip, the doc is going to explain some of that.
Right.
So let's take a look.
When you think of tooth decay and obesity and smoking, where does responsibility lie, do you think?
We could stop all of them, not with high technology medicine, but with simple things that really parents can take responsibility and authority for and make happen.
Just what you were saying, really. Parents can take responsibility
Right.
for certain things that could prevent some of these problems that are going on with our kids.
Right. That prevention is so important, and correction, both prevention and correction.
Right.
And just accepting what part we can manipulate the environment.
Right.
School's out on the East Liverpool Council estate where Sharon has come to meet her 5-year-old son, Leon. It's a journey of 700 yards, but Leon struggles with walking, so Sharon and her mother stand by with a wheelchair.
Okay. I'm just seeing some things about that.
Right. They're planning on him not being able to do it.
Did you hear what they said about the distance? 700 yards. Okay, that's a pretty good walk.
Mm-hmm.
Is it doable for a 5-year-old?
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Definitely.
but mom and grandma show up with a wheelchair.
Yep. Standing by to help. Right.
Okay, let's let it play.
You get to the grass. Once you get to the grass, I'll let you sit down.
I got a competition on. See who won?
Who won?
I did.
Did you win the day competition? You never.
I did.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well done. Well done.
Despite Dr. Dee Dee's advice to increase Leon's physical exercise, Sharon thinks she can't make him do any more than he already does.
Well, a couple of things I noticed. So as soon as she said, okay, when you get to the grass, you can have a sit down. And he goes on and starts talking about something about class. He's not even that concerned about sitting down.
He's not thinking about, I'm going to get tired.
Right.
But mom is.
Right. And when he gets to the grass, I notice he's got energy and he's running and he's not whining and asking to sit down.
And mom congratulated him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good job. Again, my experience in watching Leon's story is that mom is really connected.
Of course she is. She really wants the best for him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have taken him to the doctor.
But you made a good point, Vicki, that she is the one who's saying, hey, get clear to the grass and then we'll let you have a sit down. And then it calls back to the doctor having said, we've got to increase his
Exercise.
activity level. right? But mom is hesitant to do that because she doesn't want to ask him to do more than he can do or than he already does, really. In this next scene, they get home after Leon gets a little lift in the wheelchair. Mom gets down on the floor. She's playing with Leon. She's trying to engage with him. And she makes a comment about the diet. So let's look at that next.
His mother insists Leon's diet is healthy. As we film for 2 hours, we see how hard she works and the difficulties she faces.
So the film crew is there for 2 hours, and they're attesting to she's working hard.
Right. She's trying very hard
She's
to
down
get
on the floor.
involved.
She's playing with him. So I want to skip forward to another clip where mom offers Leon some snacks. I want to see what you think about this too, Vicki, because you haven't seen this yet. There's some interesting things that happen. Let's take a look.
Okay.
Listen, how about strawberry, apple, orange, banana, all chopped up in a bowl, and don't give Amy none? Okay.
Well, I never let me cake.
Don't you want me to go and get you some in a minute? Okay. Listen, do you want to wait for 20 minutes and then we'll go and see Reese?
So I had a hole in it.
Well, you can't see Reese if you climb.
Did you catch what happened there?
I'm not sure I understood everything there.
It's a little hard to follow the language, but mom is offering Leon,
Apples,
do you want a strawberry
oranges.
and apple, fruits, right? Healthy snacks. Now she's still holding the wheelchair. They just got home from school, and she's offering them the snacks. Now he's pitching a little fit.
Yeah, is he upset about the snacks?
Well, I know this from the context because he wants cake.
I thought he said apple cake or something.
Yeah. And so he's throwing a little fit about that. So watch what happens.
Is that what you're looking for?
Please.
There's the cake.
Say? What'd you say to Nanny? We had a bit of a thing because Leon wanted chocolate cake. Leon's not used to having chocolate cake. But it was a party at the school. Now, I am not going to Leon's school and saying, Leon can't have that party because he's not allowed there. I am not going to isolate him any further than what he already gets isolated as it is.
Okay, real quick, the cake comes out.
Right, so
okay?
so it was a gift at school. Maybe a kid had a birthday party or something like that.
Now, mom is saying, look, Leon's not used to having chocolate cake. She offers him healthy foods. But she doesn't want to say that he can't have a treat for something that's happening at school, right? They're having a party at school. She wants him to be able to be involved and engaged with the other kids. So he had thrown this little fit. Grandma has the cake. She's picked it up at the school. And they produce it, and he's sitting on the couch now enjoying his cake.
And I can't quite tell. I see that there are grapes beside him, so she has offered him the healthy snack as well.
Right.
And I know that that's something that's often you can kind of try to change environment by offering, first do this, then do that. And maybe she offered that, or maybe she gave him both. I don't know exactly.
Right.
So,
a few minutes later, after he's eaten the cake, Mom offers him some healthy snacks.
Again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's look.
Do you want me strawberries on or banana?
Strawberries or
Leon's mother
banana?
is fiercely defensive of what she feeds her son.
There you go. I just wish someone would put a camera in the corner of my house and watch my son, then come back and tell me I'm doing something wrong. Because I guarantee they won't find nothing.
Okay. Oh, dear. All right, first of all, just do the math here. He already ate the cake. Mom asked him, okay, now what do you
Not only
want?
the cake, but there were grapes beside him. Did you see?
She'd already offered him
She'd
some
already had at least
treats.
one snack brought out to him.
Right, now she says, do you want strawberries, bananas? She goes and cuts it up for him, prepares it for him, and brings it to him on the couch. Arguably healthy treats. Now, she's being a little defensive here in this clip. Because, as we talked about earlier,
yes.
she doesn't want to be fingered for, you're the
You
one
caused all this, right.
who has caused all of this problem. She is a good mom who's trying to do the best thing for her son. And so she said, if you bring a camera into my house, you're going to see there's nothing I'm doing wrong. There is a camera in her house. And we're observing some interesting things here.
Right.
I'm not going to show this particular clip because this is a full hour documentary
Right.
okay, that highlights several other kids as well. Leon's story caught my attention for a number of reasons. A little later, they talk about the exercise component. Obviously, diet is an important part. And we've already seen that Leon, in a period of 2 hours, has consumed 4 snacks, including chocolate cake, and several healthy snacks, that his mom provided for him on the couch, and a full meal. And I saw the plate for this meal. It was a full meal. This is a 5-year-old.
Yeah, and I think that is something just nationally, well, worldwide, we've kind of gotten a little bit skewed about what our portions are, what our body needs.
Right.
So.
And sometimes that gluttony, that overfeeding, happens as a result of the anxieties that we have about our scarcity or lack, or that our children aren't going to have what they want and need.
Right.
And this is obviously going overboard a little bit. But go back to the exercise for a minute. Obesity is a factor of calories in versus calories out.
Right.
Now, what causes that? Could it be genetics? Sure, there's a lot of things that can contribute.
Mix of things.
But calories out has to do with activity, exercise. The doctor was asked a little later on about the exercise because he was encouraging mom and grandma, let's get Leon more active. Let's get him increasing his activity. And they said, did you know that when they pick him up from school, they bring a wheelchair? And the doctor about came unglued.
You know,
I didn't even know.
I think this really speaks to something that we as parents, and I know I have fought against this myself, is we're so uncomfortable with our children being uncomfortable. You know,
right.
It's just a really common, and so I think we have to ask ourselves, why am I so uncomfortable with this situation? Is it because it's harmful, or is it because I don't want my child to be uncomfortable? I remember saying to a friend one time about one of my sons who was married and going through a really kind of a tight financial situation. I just said, I just really don't want him to have to suffer like that. And she looked at me, she said, well, why not? And I thought, I mean, you know, and she kind of just said, you know, led me to kind of walk down the road of the things I've learned through going through some financially tight times and what she had.
Right.
I think that we just need to, as parents, sometimes get comfortable with our child being uncomfortable.
You can see in this example how if mom would be willing to allow Leon to struggle just a little more. She doesn't want to. She doesn't want to ask him to do more than he's already doing. But if she would be willing to do that, we could increase his activity level. We could decrease some of the calorie intake here in an appropriate way that allows him to become healthy again. I'm concerned about his health.
Right.
And they profiled this particular case because it's an extreme case. But this happens at less extreme levels all the time.
Definitely.
I want to comment, though, Vicki, before we wrap up the video, about the approach with mom. I believe that this mom loves her son.
Definitely.
And she is doing her darndest to create a healthy environment for him. She doesn't see all of the ways that she could potentially contribute. One of the problems I had with this particular documentary is the way the producers confronted mom.
Oh, okay.
And she became defensive. You saw that in some of the clips. She became defensive about what she was doing because her heart is in the right place. She cares about her son. There's no question in my mind. And she said at that one point, you put a camera in my house
and tell me what I'm doing wrong.
And see if there's anything I'm doing wrong, and you'll see that there's not. I'm a good mom, right? Let's shift the question from what are you doing wrong to what could you possibly do as part of the solution?
And be willing to truly ask that question.
Right. Being humble and open puts us in a position where we have some power. Show me how I could feed my son more appropriately. Instead of I give him healthy food and then digging in heels and not being willing to budge.
Right.
So on the other end of things, let's not be too quick to judge. Even as we watch these documentaries, it's easy to say, oh, what a terrible mom. Let's not go there.
No.
I think she's a good mom who could do more to assist her son. And I think at some point in her heart, she knows that.
Right.
And that's why she becomes defensive. We as parents, I think, need to remain open to and humble about what other things that we could do to support our children. Because we definitely are part of the solution. We've got other reaction videos here on the channel. Check out the playlist for that if you're interested in some others. And if you have suggestions for which ones you want to see,
We'll take them.
we're open to that. Put that in the comments down below. And if you didn't know, we've got a lot of resources available to you as a conscious parent. Hop on over to drpauljenkins.com and join the community of conscious caring parents.
Head was down, face locked onto the phone.